Welcome back to the channel, guys. Got a new video for you today talking about Treebeard Gracious Host. Got a VOLTRON deck tech for you guys. Wanted to show you guys just how powerful this guy is, and he's quite possibly the best VOLTRON deck in Commander right now. Wanted to break it down and show you guys just what I'm talking about. So his potency and just how much sustainability he has for VOLTRON Commander. So let's break him down. Starting off with the Commander himself, he is 2 and a green and a white for a Tree Folk, 0/5 trample and ward 2. When he enters the battlefield, create 2 food tokens. Those you can pay 2 and sacrifice to gain 3 life. And then whenever you gain life, put that many +1 counters on target halfling or tree folk. After reading him, what are we going to do with the deck? We're going to gain lots of life, instantaneously put all those counters on Treebeard, and just one-shot people. We want to keep Treebeard around, so we got protection spells, and that ward 2 is going to definitely help. We got +1 counter synergy, mostly just a double counters, make him even more potent. If our life gain spells, we don't ever draw them, or we don't get there. Just a little bit of +1 counter synergy there, and then as well as some food synergy. The foods have gotten a lot better, especially in Lord of the Rings, and we're including some of those synergies here. We'll show you guys exactly what I decided to include, so let's get into it. First up, we got the ramp. Let's get through this real quick. Just want to show you guys some important pieces that we're running. Sol Ring gets Treebeard out on turn 2. Mana Crypt, same deal, gets him out on turn 2. Jeweled Lotus gets him out on turn 1. These are going to be important. If you can't afford them, it's okay too, though. We're playing the 2-mana ramp. 2-mana ramp gets Treebeard out on turn 3. We got Rampant Growth Revisits, Nature's Lore, and Farseek. Those all basically do the same thing. Some are better than others because they get our dual lands out, but the important part is that we get a land out for Treebeard, and then we'll get them on turn 3. And then Delighted Halfling I did include here, just for some uncounterability. It is a halfling as well, so it kind of pulls double duty there, ramping us in the early game and making sure that Treebeard can't be countered. Let's move on to our card draw now. Also equally important, we're going to be dumping our hand super fast, so we're going to need these card draw spells to keep us going and keep us refilled, because we have to take out 3 players. That is going to be a tall order for us. We're going to need tons of cards to do that. Sylvan Library, 1 and a green. At the beginning of your draw step, you may draw 2 additional cards. If you choose 2 cards in your hand, draw on this turn. For each of those cards, pay 4 life or put that card back on top of your library. That is a bunch of word salad just to say, hey, draw 2 extra cards, take 8 damage, because we don't care. We're gaining tons of life. This is draw 3 for us every time. Harmonize, 2 and 2 green, draw 3 cards. Can't really get any worse or better than this. It's just very mediocre, but we need this mediocre card draw. As you'll come to see, our other draw is kind of a little hazy. We might not be able to fire it off. Drawing 3 cards is always solid. Return of the Wild Speaker, 4 and a green instant. Choose 1. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control, and non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. So we're just going to be using the first mode here. This is basically just a hand refill. Draw cards equal to Treebeard's power, which could be anywhere from 6 to the sky's the limit. I've gotten Treebeard to almost 100 power before. You could easily draw your deck out with this, or Rishkar's Expertise, the next one up. 4 and double green, draw cards equals the greatest power among creatures you control. You may cast a spell with mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. This one is a sorcery, so it's a little bit worse than Return of the Wild Speaker, but we do get to cast something for free. Next up, Soul's Majesty, 4 and a green for a sorcery. Same thing as Return of the Wild Speaker, just sorcery speed. You're going to draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. And then Garruk Primal Hunter, kind of like another Soul's Majesty, except we could play it proactively to make a 3/3 beast if we wanted to. Alright, and then Hunter's Insight. Normally I wouldn't play Hunter's Insight, but in this deck it is actually particularly good just because it is 3 mana. We attack with Treebeard. Normally they're going to expect like a pump spell or something, but we could just always fire this off, draw 6 cards or something like that. This nice little refill for 3 mana. Solid card. Esper Sentinel, very good in the early game, 1 mana. Artifact Creature Human Soldier, 1/1. When an opponent casts their first non-creature spell, draw a card unless they pay X, where X is its power. Even in the later game, it's going to slow our opponents down even more when they try to remove Treebeard. So it's always solid. Good source of card draw. And the One Ring, 4 generic, indestructible legendary artifact. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything till your next turn. That's nice, but we're playing it for the other effect. During upkeep, you lose a life for each burden counter on the One Ring, and then tap to put a burden counter on the One Ring, draw a card for each burden counter on it. We do not care about the life loss. Again, we're gaining tons of life, so this is probably our best card draw spell in our entire deck. Alright, and then our last up, Archivist of Ogma, a halfling cleric with flash, and whenever an opponent searches the library, you gain a life and draw a card. So this one is perfect for our deck. It is a halfling, it's cheap, it's card draw, and it gains us a little bit of life. Everything that we could ask for. Next up, we have the life gain. This is going to be our meat and potatoes of the deck. This is what we're going to be making Treebeard super huge and killing our opponents with. First up, we got Beacon of Immortality, 5 and a white for an instant. Double target player's life total, then shuffle it back into its owner's library. This is a sweet little combat trick for us. Our most splashy spell for sure. You attack someone for 0, gain 35, 40 life, put 40 counters on Treebeard and just annihilate them. They will never see it coming until you play this deck a few times against them. Then what can they do about it? You know, Treebeard has trample. They can counter it. That's about all they can do. Next up, we got Feed the Clan. 1 and a green for an instant. You gain 5 life. But if you have a creature with power 4 or greater, you gain 10 life instead. Treebeard is so easy to get to 4 power, it's not even funny. We need a Soul Sister or a food token or something like that, and he's already there. So gain 10 life for 2 mana. That's putting 10 counters on Treebeard. It gets out of hand so fast. I'm telling you guys, it gets out of hand so fast. Congregate. 3 and a white for an instant. Target player gains 2 life for each creature on the battlefield. This one, ooh man, this counts your creatures too. It's every creature on the battlefield. All we need is about 8 to 10 creatures, and you just one-shot someone from Treebeard being at 0 power. Fracturing Gust is the next one up. 2 hybrid for an instant. Destroy all artifacts and enchantments. You gain 2 life for each permanent destroyed this way. Notice how, before I get into why this card is in the deck, notice how all of these cards I mentioned so far are instants. We're going to be using these as combat tricks. We're going to attack our opponent. They're not going to really know how to block. They don't know how much power we're punching in for. They could be dead, or they could be just taking 10 damage or something. They don't know. They don't want to throw all their creatures in front of it if they value their creatures. They don't want to throw their Esper Sentinel or their combo piece or their Oracle of Moldiah or something in front of it. You're going to most likely be able to fire these off and just one-shot people, even if they block. With that said, let's get into this card here. This is a mollywhopper of a card. People are playing treasures, they're playing clues, they're playing food, they're playing tons of ramp pieces. Everyone plays Sol Ring and Signets and Talismans. You're going to be firing this off most of the time, gaining anywhere from 10 to 20 life. Not only that, it's destroying all the artifacts and enchantments. You take out one player, then destroy all the other artifacts and enchantments in play. It's such a one-sided effect. Even though you get rid of your own, it's so worth it because you're putting 2 counters on Treebeard for each one that's destroyed on your side too. So say you don't crack your foods, that's another 4 life. Instead of cracking them, you get 2 extra life, but you don't have to spend 4 mana to do that. You know, it's a good deal. Definitely gets your opponents on the wrong foot there. Next up, we got War Report. 3 and a white for an instant. You gain life equal to the number of creatures on the battlefield plus the number of artifacts on the battlefield. This one is kind of similar to Congregate because we do gain life equal to the number of creatures on the battlefield, but the artifacts in addition to that usually makes this spell even more potent than the Congregate, just because, like I said before, people are playing treasures, they're playing clues, they're playing artifacts a lot more than creatures most of the time, unless you run into a token player. Even then, you know, this card is just gravy. Even better. Most of the time, this card will one-shot somebody, depending on what stage of the game you're in. We got Sheltering Word. 1 and a green instant. Target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn. You gain life equal to that creature's toughness. This one is so good for our deck because it does 2 things. It protects Treebeard and it gains us a crap ton of life. We could usually fire this off to save Treebeard and annihilate someone at the same time. Anywhere from, 8 to 20 life you can gain off of this spell, also protecting Treebeard at the same time. It's such a blowout. Next card up, Heliod's Intervention. X, white instant. Destroy X artifacts or enchantments, or target player gains twice X life. This one has been so good for the deck because it's the modal effect on this card is so insane. Most of the time people play this card just for the artifacts or enchantments destroying part, but in this deck, actually gaining twice X life is normally better than blowing up the artifacts or enchantments. Pick your poison, whatever point in the game you're at. If you need to get rid of some artifacts or enchantments, then go for it. Or if you need to just do this for X's 5, gain 10 life and kill someone, then do that. Next here, Soul Warden. 1 white for a 1/1 human cleric. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Wanted to mention here, I am also playing Essence Warden and Soul's Attendant, all 3 of the Soul Sisters. They're so good in this deck, just because it's any creature entering the battlefield that gets you that life. It's nice to have these out before Treebeard comes down. You get 1 life when he comes down, and then any other creatures that come down throughout the game, it's just pumping Treebeard up more and more and more. As they're trying to put blockers out to defend themselves from Treebeard, your Treebeard is also getting bigger, kind of offsets that. And then last but not least, Predator's Rapport. 2 and a green for an instant. Choose target creature you control. You gain life equal to that creature's power plus its toughness. This is by far the best card in this deck. It is so insane. You choose Treebeard, and then you gain say you crack 2 foods, so he's a 6/11. You gain 17 life. 17 plus 6, 23. They're dead. And that could be on turn 4, turn 5. Turn 5, someone's already dead. And then Treebeard's already a lethal threat for the next person that I swing at. Sounds good to me. Moving on to our +1 counter synergy now. Let's start out with Branching Evolution. 2 and a green for an enchantment. If 1 or more +1 counters would be put on a creature, twice that many +1 counters are put on that creature instead. Wanted to mention here before I get into this card, I am not playing any of the life doubling effects or doubling season here. I tried them out in my first iteration of the deck and I just found out that they were too clunky, too slow. You're dropping them for 5 mana and then hoping that it gets around back to the table. But everyone recognizes the power of doubling season now. Everyone recognizes the power of gaining double life in a Treebeard deck. People are going to see that and think, hey, he plays Feed the Clan, that's gaining 20 life instead of 10. We can't let that happen. We're going to destroy that enchantment. That's why I didn't include those ones here. I did still include Branching Evolution because it is 3 mana and it does the effect on doubling season that we want, which is the doubling of the counters. Crack a food token, we play Feed the Clan, whatever. We're gaining twice the counters instead of just the normal amount. Next up, Solidarity of Heroes. 1 and a green instant. Choose any number of target creatures. Double the number of +1 counters on each of them. We're just going to choose Treebeard. We don't care about the Strive here. We're just going to double the number of counters on Treebeard at instant speed. They're not going to expect it. Even when they expect the combat tricks, they don't expect them. It's crazy. Invigorating Surge. 2 and a green instant. Put a +1 counter on target creature, then double the number of +1 counters on that creature. Same kind of deal as Solidarity. They don't expect it. Put a counter and then double the counters. Bam. They're dead. Alright, next up, Hydra's Growth. 2 and a green for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Hydra's Growth enters the battlefield with a +1 counter on enchanted creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of +1 counters on enchanted creature. This is kind of like Branching Evolution that they can see coming. So you get a counter right away. Even if it gets blown up, you still get 1 counter at least. And then if it makes it back to your turn, you could play a life gain spell or crack a food before this trigger goes off to double the number of counters and get more counters on them. Little trick there. And then last spell here, Damning Verdict. Wanted to throw this one here. 3 and double white for a sorcery. Destroy all creatures with no counters on them. Treebeard has counters on them. We don't care about any of the other creatures. It's kind of just a one-sided board wipe for us. We got our food synergy next. Wanted to get in a few cards here, show you guys what we're thinking with the foods. Sam Loyal Attendant. 1 green white for a 2/4 halfling peasant. He pairs with Frodo, Adventurous Hobbit. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a food. Activated abilities of food you control cost 1 less. Making a food every turn is good. That's 3 +1 counters every combat on our turn. And then he makes the foods cost 1 to crack instead of 2. So we're just piling up these foods. 3 counters, 3 counters, 3 counters. It adds up so fast. He is also a halfling, so you could put counters on Sam too when Treebeard gets big enough to where it doesn't matter. Next up, Prize Pig. 1 and a green for a 0/3 boar. Wherever you gain life, put that many ribbon counters on Prize Pig. Then if there are 3 more ribbon counters on him, remove those counters and untap it. And then he taps to add 1 mana of any color. I put this one directly after Sam on purpose because they kind of like make a little combo together. Say we got about 3 or 4 foods. Then we go to combat, make another food. We attack someone with Treebeard. Say Treebeard's like 3 power. And then we got our 4 foods. Say we're tapped out. We only have the Prize Pig up. They're like, oh, he's only got 1 mana. Okay, no blocks. Then you go Prize Pig, sack of food, put 3 counters on Treebeard. Then Sam says, oh, it costs 1 to activate. Prize Pig says, oh, there's 3 ribbon counters on this. I'm going to untap. And then you just fire off all 4 of those foods, put 12 counters on Treebeard. They take 15 damage. They were not expecting that. You just pay 0 to crack all the foods basically with the Prize Pig and Sam. Next up, the Gaffer. 2 and a white for a 2/3 legendary creature halfling peasant. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, draw a card. This says each end step, not just ours. If we crack food on other people's end steps, we draw a card. If we have Soul Sisters and they play 3 creatures, we draw a card. It's just so solid, so solid. Drawing us at least 1 to 3 cards every turn cycle. Next up, we got Protection, our protection spells. Tameo Safekeeping first up, 1 green for an instant. Target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible. You gain 2 life. Not only is this like a little mini heroic intervention for our Treebeard, but it also gains us 2 life, so we're putting 2 counters on Treebeard as well. It's just such a good protection spell, probably the best one in this deck. We got Blacksmith Skill next up. Instant for a 1 white. Target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible. If it's an artifact creature, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Obviously, none of our creatures are artifact creatures, so it's just hexproof and indestructible for 1 white. Same kind of deal as Tameo Safekeeping, just solid card. Tyvar's Stand. X and a green. Instant. Target creature you control gets +X/+X and gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. This is kind of like the same 2 spells before, except instead of getting 2 life, we get to pump them up if we want. We got some extra mana lying around. Let's throw it in there. Get us over that 21 mark with the Tyvar's Stand. Lauren's Escape, 1 white, instant. Target artifact or creature gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Scry 1. Same kind of deal as before, you just get to scry 1 this time. Veil of Summer, 1 green, instant. Draw a card if an opponent has cast a blue or black spell this turn. Spells you control can't be countered this turn. You impermanents you control gain hexproof from blue and black till end of turn. This is protecting us just from 2 colors, but it's preventing our Treebeard from being countered. It replaces itself, and it gives hexproof from blue and black to all of our permanents. So it's a very solid card, doing a lot for us for 1 mana. Surge of Salvation up next, 1 white, instant. You and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. Prevent all damage that black or red sources would deal to creatures this turn. This is mostly just for the hexproof on Treebeard, but preventing all damage that black or red sources would deal has its corner cases, its niche effects. Next up, we got Alpha Authority, 1 and a green for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has hexproof and can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. We just slap this on Treebeard, he's got himself hexproof, and he can only be blocked by 1 creature. This just shuts down a lot of decks that were hoping to just play enough creatures to throw in front of Treebeard so they don't die. Nope, they can only block with 1 tiny dude, and then we're just gonna run over them. So good in this deck, so good. Swiftfoot Boots, 2 generic artifact equipment. Equip creature has hexproof and haste. Equip 1. What more could you ask for? You know, that's exactly what we want. In the later game, Treebeard's going to cost more, so we want him to be protected, and we want him to come down with haste if he does happen to die. Reprieve, 1 and a white for an instant. Return target spell to its owner's hand. Draw a card. This is kind of like a white counterspell in a way. It doesn't actually counter the spell, so it gets around it can't be countered. If they decide to throw a removal spell at Treebeard, they pay the ward 2, and then we throw it back in their hand, and then they got to pay the ward 2 again, which most likely they can't because they weren't expecting that. Gets us over the edge in most scenarios, and it does replace itself, which is always good. Silence, 1 white, instant. Your opponents can't cast spells this turn. Just exactly what we're looking for. Shutting down any interaction on our turn or stopping opponents from winning. Exactly what we're looking for. Grand Abolisher is the next card up. Double white, Human Cleric, 2/2. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. Similar to Silence, just on a creature. We want to make sure our opponents can't interact with our Voltron game plan. We want to be able to do whatever we want during our turn without having our opponents try and killing our Treebeard. Heroic Intervention, I mentioned it earlier. 1 and a green for an instant. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until turn. Unlike Tamiyo's Safety Queen with just protecting 1 permanent, this protects all of our permanents. Most of the time we're just going to fire this off protecting Treebeard, but in corner cases where we get board wiped or they try to go after our key artifacts or enchantments, we can protect them with this card. And last but not least, the Mac Daddy himself, Teferi's Protection. 2 and a white, instant. Till your next turn, your life total can't change and you have protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out. Exile Teferi's Protection. Just protects our life total, protects us, protects our board. What more can you ask for in a protection spell? It protects literally everything. We get our removal next. Just going to go over this real quick. Just wanted to show you guys what removal pieces we're running to help Treebeard get through that damage. Remove any problematic pieces for us. We got Swords of Plowshares up first. You guys all know what Swords does. Exile creature, they gain life equal to its power. Swords is actually a little bit better in our deck because we could Swords our own creature to gain life to put counters on Treebeard. If we're missing a few points of damage and we need to get there, we could Swords our own creature. Path to Exile, same kind of deal as Swords. You just remove a creature and they get a basic land instead of gaining life. Generous Gift, destroy a permanent and they get a 3/3 elephant. Beast Within, destroy a permanent and then get a 3/3 beast. Kind of the same deal there. Nature's Claim, kind of similar to Swords. 1 green, destroy an artifact or enchantment and they gain 4 life. We could use it on ourselves. Gain 4 life, put 4 counters on Treebeard, get us over the edge. Force of Vigor, 2 and 2 green. For an instant, if it's not your turn, you may exile a green card from your hand rather than pay its spell's mana cost. Destroy 2 artifacts or enchantments. Just really good. Play it for free on someone else's turn. Get rid of 2 problematic artifacts or enchantments. And then Vanquish the Horde. Our second board wipe in the deck. 6 and double white for a sorcery. It costs 1 less for each creature on the battlefield, then destroy all creatures. We could protect Treebeard, wipe all the creatures, and then kill someone. That's why this is in here. And if things get out of hand and we're not doing so good, we could always fire this off to get back in the game. Wanted to go over the lands really quickly, show you guys some utility lands that I'm playing. There's actually a few good ones in here that I would definitely recommend including if you guys decide to go the Voltron route with Treebeard. We got Radiant Fountain up first. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life, and it taps for a colorless. What more can you ask for, you know? Land comes in, you get 2 counters on Treebeard. Just pretty good. Gingerbread Cabin, and its battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other forests. And then when it enters the battlefield, untapped, you create a food token. Just more food. We could always use more life gain, and it's in our land base. We can tutor it out because it is a forest. Cabin of Souls, make Treebeard uncounterable. Plaza Heroes, adds a mana, spend this mana only to cast a legendary spell, add one of any color among legendary permanents, and then we could pay 3 and tap, exile Plaza Heroes, target legendary creature gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Just here to protect Treebeard, another protection spell in our land base. Rogue's Passage, 4 and tap, target creature can't be blocked this turn. Just slam this down. If it's your last land to play, you usually want to play this land last when Treebeard's big enough to where you can play this. Activate it and kill someone. Witch's Clinic is up next. You pay 2 and tap it, target commander gains lifelink until end of turn. This one's solid. We're not playing too much lifelink in the deck because lifelink triggers after our creature deals combat damage. We get the counters after we did the damage. It doesn't really work out too well, but if it's in our land base, we'll take it. If we have nothing better to do, attack someone for maybe 8 or whatever, and then put 8 counters on Treebeard for 3 mana. Sounds good to me. And then the Shire. Shire enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature, taps for a green, and you can pay 1 and a green and tap an untapped creature you control to create a food token. This is definitely the best utility land on the entire deck. Just being able to tap a legendary or another untapped creature whenever we want for 2 mana and making a food, it just continuously gives us tons of life gain that we need for the deck in our land base. And that's it for you guys. The deck list is in the description. Let me know if you guys thought of anything that should go in the deck. Remember to like and comment and subscribe, and I appreciate you guys for watching to the end. Bye bye for now.